welcome to a slightly longer edition of 60 Extra Seconds. This is your 13 colonies cheat sheet. First up, you've got the southern colonies. These southern colonies are made up of Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Maryland. And remember, of course, that the top of the southern colonies are often called the Chesapeake colonies, which is Virginia and Maryland. So what did they do for money? Mainly, they were plantation agriculture. They're growing tobacco and they're growing cotton, among other very, very labor-intensive crops. As far as their religion, they're going to be mostly Anglican, especially in Virginia, but they're really more concerned with money. These are profit-seeking ventures in the southern plantation colonies, especially as we get started here in the 13 colonies. Maryland, of course, was founded as a Catholic haven. We're going to talk more about that in just a second. Notable leaders of this time, you've got John Smith of Jamestown, Nathaniel Bacon, who's going to be the leader of Bacon's Rebellion, William Berkeley, who's the governor at the time of Bacon's Rebellion that everybody is so upset about. Remember, Bacon's Rebellion is when the group of newly freed indentured servants are trying to expand into Virginia but keep running into issues with natives, and they feel that Virginia is not meeting their needs or helping them survive there, so they launch a big rebellion and burn Jamestown to the ground. Lord Baltimore is the founder of Maryland, who tries to make it a Catholic haven, and then James Oglethorpe is the founder of Georgia. As far as the relations with natives, you've got the two Anglo-Powhatan wars that happen in the southern colonies, and you've got a good bit of issues with natives that happen down here. As far as slavery goes, because we're talking about tobacco, because we're talking about cotton, these are very labor-intensive crops, really, along with the other crops that you're growing there. So you are going to have more slaves in the South. But remember, especially starting in the 1730s, the slaves are going to be mostly on the big plantation farms. A normal landowner or a small-time landowner is usually not going to have a slave at this time. As far as the government goes, Jamestown has the House of Burgesses, which is the first elected General Assembly in the colonies. That's going to eventually pave the way for the democratic society formed during the Revolution. And remember, of course, that Virginia is going to become a royal colony ruled over completely by the crown. Next up, we've got the middle colonies made up of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. So as far as what they did for money, New York is going to be a major trade hub. You're going to see a lot of merchants here shipping things in and out. New York is also going to grow wheat, but then as far as the other middle colonies, you've got shipbuilding, trading furs, fishing, and they're all going to be growing cereal crops to eat and sell and trade. The merchants living in the middle colonies are going to be especially squeezed by shipping taxes that Britain is placing on the colonies, and they're often going to be the ones that are working around the loosely enforced navigation acts. As far as religion goes, they're a more religiously tolerant group. You don't have as many of the issues over religion in the middle colonies as you do in, say, the New England colonies. Some notable leaders, remember that New York was founded by the Dutch. Originally it's New Netherland, but eventually will become New York, named after the Duke of York. And then you've got William Penn in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, of course, is founded by a Quaker in William Penn, but it's really going to be more of a religious liberty type of settlement. As far as relations with natives, they're in the middle colonies, they were more likely to trade with the natives, so in general they had better relations. That doesn't mean they never had issues, but in general there are better relations there. There are also less slaves in the middle colonies because farms are smaller there. The middle colonies, as far as their government, they're going to be a little bit more proprietary, meaning they govern land granted by the king. They're democratic, they're going to elect their own legislatures, but in general, like New York and New Jersey, they're going to pretty much be royal colonies eventually. And that leads us to the New England colonies. They're going to be made up of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. What do they do for money? Well, they're going to be doing shipbuilding, lumber, fur, and fishing, as well as growing food. So as far as their religion and their lifestyles, the separatists are going to live in Plymouth. So separatists were people breaking off of England that didn't feel that the Church of England could be reformed. The Puritans in Massachusetts Bay in 1630, you got the separatists in Plymouth in 1620, and then the Puritans of Massachusetts Bay in 1630 that did feel the Church of England could be reformed, but they wanted to have a more pure version of it. Notable leaders in the New England colonies, you've got William Bradford, one of the founders of Plymouth, and John Winthrop, one of the founders of Massachusetts Bay. As far as the relations with natives, they're pretty good at first, but then eventually you're going to get King Philip's War or Metacom's War in the late 1600s. There are slaves in the New England colonies, but there are less. Remember, there are slaves in all 13 colonies at some point. It's just a question of how many. And then the government, you're going to have royal colonies, but the Massachusetts Bay colony has Puritan town hall meetings to make decisions. In the Plymouth colonies, they have the Mayflower Compact. They also allow all male church members to vote.